From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Barris.
But what's going on with you guys?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. I'm Nick Barris. It is 8 o'clock, and we have a good show on tap for you. You're watching this show right now, probably from your home or wherever it is you happen to live, maybe an apartment, townhouse, or something along those lines. Do you rent or do you own? And have you considered selling a property? Have you had mailers in your mailbox where there's folks offering to buy your property? If you're not aware of it, let me tell you something you should know. The housing market here in Middle Tennessee continues to explode, and the prices, if you're a seller, are fantastic. If you're a buyer, it sucks. All right? And it's just the way it is right now. It's a good thing. It's a sign of the economy and the like. But every once in a while, we like to look at some of the latest developments in the real estate market, especially for those of you who maybe are looking to buy or sell, give you some ideas of what's out there. So we're going to talk about that this morning and invite you to join in the conversation. I'd like to hear some of your stories on what you think your property value is these days. If you're thinking of buying or selling, you're welcome to join in the show. The number's on the screen. We're going to talk with a real estate broker. One Gabriela Lira is with us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. You come and you tolerate me, and it's nice to have you on. It is. It's a seller's market still.
It sure is.
And you're busy. I'm wondering, the real estate biz, it's interesting. I have people, some of whom in the news business, others that have left whatever job they're doing and going into real estate thinking, wow, it's a hot real estate market. I'm going to make a killing. Real estate can be lucrative.
It certainly can.
It can also be very difficult. It can be very convenient, very competitive, and you have to be on call 24/7. You're a successful real estate individual. How long have you been doing it?
Over a decade.
Okay. So you have the track record, and you were in before it really exploded like now.
That's right.
Anyone, and I'm not asking you to scare people away, but I'm telling you, you want to jump into real estate right now, and just, I'm going to go into real estate and make a fortune. Have fun with that. How you can do it, but I mean, it's tough. It's just a competitive market, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely competitive. When the market's hot, barriers to entry are low, so many people get licensed. But when you start out as a real estate agent, you usually start representing buyers.
Right.
Well, the market for buyers is brutal right now, so you are working 5-6 times as hard to get a buyer into a home than you were 5 years ago.
Is that because of inventory, or what sets that up, what you just described?
It's inventory and it's competition.
Okay.
So many buyers, few homes for those buyers. So when a house does become available, there are 10, 20, 30 offers I've heard on a single home. So for your one buyer out of 30 to get it, the probabilities are pretty low. So you are doing this same thing, offer over and over and over again until you finally are able to place that buyer in a home. And so you are working 5-6 times as hard to represent a buyer right now.
It's amazing what's happening in this market. Give me a sense, just big picture here. What is it essentially that has driven these prices to this level? I mean, we're coming out of the pandemic. Construction obviously has bounced back since the 2007s and 2008s. What is driving it right now? They can't keep up with the number of people moving here, wanting to buy places. What's at the heart of this kind of growth with regard to costs and inventory issues?
I'd say it's threefold.
Okay.
Sure, we have people moving here because of work-related moves. So Middle Tennessee has always been great at attracting headquarters of different corporations here. So we are still seeing an influx of people moving here for work. Number two, when COVID hit, Middle Tennessee became the #1 lifestyle move destination.
And what were people telling you? Why is that?
Because temperate weather, lower cost of living, people coming from New York or California who could never afford to buy a house here, these prices to them seem pretty affordable.
Gotcha. Okay.
So those are just two reasons why people are making lifestyle moves. So their employers are saying you can work from home and be just as productive. So go work from anywhere, and they're all choosing to come here. Apparently, we're the #1 destination.
Well, there's a lot of things that are very positive about this area. I'm just wondering specific. Of course, we have a large medical community here. We've got great universities. universities, the taxes, lower in the state of Tennessee than a lot of other states. Things like this might draw.
James Beard award-winning chefs.
Yeah, sure. It
good
draws.
Culture, music, all the things that are drawing people here. And then lastly, I will say millennials are the largest population, and they all are coming of home buying age. So you have people coming in, but you also have millennials ready to enter the market.
Okay, those all make sense. Now, what about the concept of there's homes that go on for sale and you have these investors, okay? These funds that are investment groups around the country that say Nashville's a hot market. Let's go in there and buy up as much property as we can. We'll either turn it into Airbnbs, we'll rent them out, or we'll just buy them, fix them up and sell them, and it's part of our investment portfolio. And they come in with huge wads of cash because they're investment firms, and they can basically outdo individuals. Does that happen right now who want to bid on the same house?
It does happen. We do have plenty of institutional investors coming into town.
What do you think of that?
Personally, I don't love it, right? Because I'm all about home ownership. I want the little guy to succeed. I'm for the underdog, right? So for me, I don't love it, but it is America, and it is part of, our system. They are allowed to do that. So they are coming in. Sometimes I see them purchasing entire subdivisions.
Right.
And using them all for rentals.
Now, see, that would be not cool. I have nothing against rentals in terms of I've rented all my life until I finally got to the point where I settled down and bought a house. But if I'm in one of these subdivisions and they buy up huge swaths of it, and then they start renting out everything, but I'm sitting there living here, that's not good for your property value. You want to know why? People who rent are good people, but they don't have the same home ownership, the same I'm living here.
Pride, yeah.
Pride in that area that because they're going to be there, they're nomadic, they're going to be there for a while and they're leaving, okay? So you don't see them maybe doing as much for it. It's more nomadic, and it's just, it's a fact.
Yeah,
you move into an area where they're surrounded by renters, your property value goes down, period, end of story.
It's definitely a more transient population,
right.
And you want the neighborhood feel, and you want your kids to play with the neighbors' kids.
Right.
And so you don't get a lot of that when there are all renters
and
around you.
And you sure don't want a bunch of Airbnbs.
That's for sure.
That's way worse. Again, renters, I've rented, so I'm not being a hypocrite here. But renters, good people. It's just they're nomadic and they don't stay like you just said. But Airbnb, that's a big problem if I have one of those moves in next door to me.
Short-term rentals are very lucrative for investors.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say that the city is now cracking down. They're saying only these types of zonings are allowed to be short-term rentals, which is removing a lot of that inventory from the market. And it would be hard for a short-term renter or rental to be located right next to you in a residential neighborhood. That's no longer allowed unless it's an owner-occupied and they're renting a room or a little cottage.
Excellent point. And don't give me any of that crap about the American way and capitalism. That's protecting neighborhoods. It's something for quality of life, and that's important, and I'm glad they've done that.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. The only people who are disagreeing with me are the money-grubbing developers. Sorry. All right, so the other part of this is who on earth are buying these properties? There was a story the other day about how, and again, this is at the very top of the heap, folks have already laid down $2 million so they can reserve penthouse apartments at some of the really nice downtown sky rises that are going up right now. Now, I understand those are folks in the realm off the charts, but we have, right behind Channel 5 here, a number of just very nice condos that have basically popped up around the baseball stadium, the Sound Stadium, and yet the cost of those is, I'm like, who's buying these, okay? I mean, these young people, and what kind of salaries, how are they buying these? Where's this coming from?
So as we mentioned earlier, there is a lot of influx of people coming from less price-sensitive markets, but you'd be surprised, a lot of locals are buying these. The economy's great. People are doing really well right now, so there is a lot of money out there.
Well, I know several people who have bought condos back there, and they're making their mortgage because mommy and daddy are helping.
If someone is lucky enough to have that, more
I don't
power
begrudge
to
that,
them.
but I'm just saying, they're not paying for it from their salary.
That didn't happen for me, and I'm sure it didn't happen for you.
And that's the tough thing sometimes. You come to Nashville, you get a salary, it's a larger market, maybe you're making more money whether you're in TV or otherwise, but sometimes the money you make to work here is not enough to actually buy a property here right now.
That's true.
Depending on what you're doing.
If you have good credit and you are able to get a loan, people are getting loans with as little as 3% down. If you've served in the military and you are able to obtain a VA loan, you get 0% down, and that is a privilege that was earned. But you can put as little as 3% down now.
I see. Okay, so you buy that, you're paying 3% down, and then eventually you buy it as an investment property. If you're not staying there forever, people don't do ARMs anymore, do they? Adjustable rate mortgages?
ARMs are still available, but they're less popular.
Yeah. With good reason. All right,
yes.
We'll take a break. When we come back, Gabriela's sharp. We're going to take some phone calls, perhaps. The number 737-7587. What are your thoughts on where, if someone really wants to look to buy a place here and is on a non-millionaire budget, what areas may be just about to start developing where you can find some deals? We'll get into that, if that even exists, with our guest and your calls right after this. Stay with us.